What is up, everyone? Thanks for joining us for another episode of the Game Cast. I am one of your hosts, Kenny, and with me is Tess.
Hey, everybody.
And we are back with another episode. Got a lot of cool stuff to talk about. Well, actually, just three main things to talk about. But it's still good. It's still good. It's a good number. Three is a solid number.
Yeah.
Trinity and all that good stuff. Um, but yeah, before we get into our normal or our main topics, I just want to talk about some things that I want to recommend. On a previous cast, I talked about the show, or I'm sorry, the anime Odd Taxi. Talked about, actually, no, I didn't. I think that was off show. I talked about it. Regardless,
hmm
Odd Taxi. I've been watching this show, and I think it's one of my favorite animes of this year. And considering what I've been watching, that's a pretty big deal for me, anyways. But Odd Taxi, for the people who don't know, is basically about a taxi driver. Well, first of all everybody in the show are animals, and there's a
hmm
really cool reason why they're animals that you'll find out later. But everyone is animals, and the taxi cab driver is a walrus, and he's taking people, here and there. And while he's doing that, you hear all these different stories. Think of like taxi cab confessions, but not like on the raunchy side. Just kind of like
hmm
people are talking about their everyday stuff. And what you find out though is that there's a pop star has gone, not a pop star, a student or a teenager has gone missing. And there are pop stars, there are gangsters, there are all these different people that are kind of doing their own thing. And as you're watching, the stories kind of unfold, and you don't know what's happening. You don't know why. This comedian is talking about meeting this person this one time. All you're doing is listening to the taxi cab driver, who doesn't care about any of these people, uh, kind of like humor them, right? But then after a while, at the end of each episode, you see how their paths kind of like cross. The comedian who was struggling to win a contest, he crossed paths with a gangster who was looking for someone who happened to be someone who rode in the taxi cabs. In the cab, previous night. And so there's conflict there because he wants the camera footage to kind of find this person. And the taxi cab driver's like, you can't have my camera. What's wrong with you? And then all this stuff starts to spiral, out. But while this is happening, there's these little bits of stories, these other characters that pop up, and you don't really know why. You're like, why do I care that who are you? But it slowly introduces you to these characters. And over time, they all the story, like by the end of the show, all the stories kind of combine to like one conclusion, and it's so well done that I was like, wait, is this one of my favorite animes? Wait a minute, what just happened? Like, and what was crazy is that it's really slow. There's very little action, and like I said, it can kind of like it's almost like someone is telling a story, but they're like trailing off, and then they come back and like start anew. That's what it kind of some of the episodes feel like. It feels like it's going nowhere. But if you keep watching, and I hate to be one of those people like just keep watching, but if you keep watching, that character that you thought was like whatever, they come back around in like a cool way. Now there are some stuff that like I think you could have, the writers could have taken out, but the fact that it's only one season and it's done, I'm not mad at it. I'm not mad at it at all.
Okay.
I think the length works. There's a lot of quirky characters. There's a sheep that does capoeira. Like I thought that was just random. She's also a nurse, so that's how we get down. You have a gangster who raps talks like the whole time, like Killer B from
Oh my
Naruto.
God. Stop.
He
Stop.
rap
No.
he raps the whole time. Um,
B.
yes, and there's you know a gangster who you think might be good, who might be a good guy. He doesn't. He actually lectures people. So like he'll beat someone up and be like, okay, now let me explain to you why I just beat you up. Okay, so you see here, see
Wow.
this is where you made a mistake. Like really, why you're doing this is because you have low self esteem. What you need to do, and like literally, is lecturing someone after punching them in the face.
It's so unfair.
Just the humor is dry, but it's really really funny. I think you should check it out. It's on Crunchyroll, which is now owned by Sony. If you
Mm.
didn't know, just a bit of a news. Sony already owned Funimation.
Mm-hmm.
They bought, because we had talked about this previously. They had bought, or were in the works of buying Crunchyroll. Well, they bought them for like over $1 billion, I think.
I don't even remember
Because
I didn't get any of that money.
Right? Look.
Mm.
Look, Crunchyroll, you have enough money to sponsor us now. I'm just saying.
Seriously.
I'm just saying. But no, they made, and granted, I get it because Crunchyroll was the only other competition. You had Funimation, you had Crunchyroll, and then you had people who had a little bit of, or I'm sorry, companies who had a little bit of anime. So Netflix, Hulu, stuff like that. But no, like Crunchyroll was like this was just anime and manga. That's it.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, they bought them for over $1 billion, just bananas. So it's on there, and I think you should check it out. I think it'll be different especially if you're into like the shonen anime and stuff like that. This is definitely a change of pace, but I think that you will enjoy it over time. Don't watch it at night because you'll fall asleep. But once you get into the characters and the quirkiness of the world, and you start to unravel the mystery of like what's been going on with these different characters, you will, I think you'll enjoy it. Like I said, it has, J-pop stars in it, messing with gangsters, people who have all sorts of, people who do things for clicks. Like it's so much. You just gotta watch. It's great though. It's great. So yeah, that's my recommendation for this week. Definitely go check that out. I'm actually gonna be recommending more stuff, but there's just an aside before we get into our main topics.
Right.
But Tess, what have you been watching aside from really bad
Trash
reality
TV? Yeah, trash reality TV. Funny. So okay, I did actually catch up on Grownish. Because the new season's finally on. Yeah, and the last 2 episodes were I mean, so Grownish is trying to catch up with the world. And so they finally started their new season, and they started off with like pandemic episodes. Like these are kids who are in college or trying to finish up like their last year in college, and they couldn't film, for a while. So they ended the last season like nothing had happened, and then they started this season as if all of the students couldn't go back to school, kind of like what happened in 2020 and the beginning part of this year and stuff.
Right.
So they all had to go home apparently, and then come back to school. And so they're back at school, living in their house again and being students again, and like everybody's getting started all over again. And then of course they had to also put in like the shootings of last year. So they put them in like now, like they're taking place now. And so they did have, they basically just had these 2 episodes where they're young college students going to protests, and how they're such like a multicultural group of people. So they're having those hard conversations between them. And so I caught up on that today. I was like, oh snap, they want to get deep again. I mean, they try to get deep on that show because they know the audience of that show is young. Like I know that I'm damn near 40, but I do watch that show because I have to support anything that comes off of Blackish. But even though I actually don't watch Mixed-ish, I've only seen 1 episode. It was funny, but I just now I really don't watch it because I don't watch TV. I only either watch Hulu or and I've been known that Grownish was on Hulu. So, but anyway, yeah. So the last 2 episodes were about like protesting and unarmed Black men getting shot, and just them being young and having these conversations with their group. And since again their audience is young people, the show happens to be a little preachy. Like you could never imagine being 19, 20, 21 years old and having these conversations with your friends and then actually making sense.
Like, yeah, I can see that.
There's just no way that you could be having these conversations with your friends at that age and be making this much sense. Like, this is clearly scripted.
Well, I don't know. There has been some I forgot the little girl's name who kind of, not little girl, she's older, but who kind of called out Trump not before the last the switching of the guard, if you will, or changing of the guard. But like there's some young people out, and then we were just talking off air about the little black girl who won the
Oh
spelling
yeah.
bee off
Yeah.
of, like, it was just a hobby, you know what I'm saying?
Totally. But I didn't
You
have any
know?
friends like her. She's a unicorn.
Right, right.
Like, my friends, I mean, I know we had deep conversations, and I'm just gonna say this, and I'm not trying to toot my own horn, but I think we had deep conversations because I was part of the friend group. I'm just saying, I'm that
Hey,
person.
flex. Light flex, ain't nothing.
I'm totally gonna flex. I'm definitely that person of the friend group back then. Now I'm an idiot, but back then I was the one who would always like try to bring up the hard topics and that stuff, because that's just who I was. I
Right.
thought it was interesting. But when you watch this show, it's just so funny. It's just so funny when you hear like some of the stuff that these people are saying, because like I know that when I was young, or like 19, 20, whatever, and being in school, like, it's one thing when you're kind of put in the dorm and you're with your roommate that they made you get into the dorm with,
Right,
whatever,
right.
the one that was assigned to you. And it's a different thing when you like either you move into your own place with your own group of friends. And a lot of times when you do that, you get like-minded friends. Like
Yeah.
your group is kind of very much together. You share clothes, and that those are the people you're choosing to hang out with. This is not the people you're forced to be with. And it's so interesting when you watch a show like that, because in the show, they're not like-minded. They have so many, they have different opinions and different backgrounds, so much to the point where you're sitting back as a normal person. If you literally look at them and try to think, you'd be like, this is not a real friend group. This friend group is not representative of how we make friends. Like, they're so, I don't want to, polarizing. Yes, maybe that is a good word. But I'm like, the stuff that they do to each other, they're all bad people. And maybe, bad people like to hang out with other bad people. So maybe that makes sense. But it's just really funny to kind of see how they still manage to have this friendship with each other when they have such contrasting, firm beliefs. And those beliefs are worn on their sleeves. Like, it's not like, oh, we just keep these beliefs inside and don't say anything. Like, no, you guys are like liberal, whatever. You got one person who's basically a Black Panther, and then you have a conservative Latina. And I'm sitting here like, how is this working?
Yeah, I mean, it like you said, it definitely makes for good TV, but
Yes.
or at least an interesting conflict. But yeah, that would be volatile. I remember having certain conversations about us, after 9/11 and going to war, and then when Bush was going up against crap, what is his name? I forgot his name. Who eventually lost the race, but we were in college at that time. I was
Yeah.
like 2003 ish, 2004.
Oh, when he lost, Kerry lost to him. That's right.
Right. And, having debates about why someone would stick with Bush versus him and vice versa and all this other stuff. It didn't end well. Like, people stopped talking to one another.
Yeah.
And that was before, that was mild compared to what it is today. Yeah. Like, you can't even, it's funny. I had an editor hit me up about, because there's you probably wouldn't know, but there's a new Paw Patrol movie coming out.
Okay.
Should be out later this month, or actually I think it's the first movie. I don't know, I don't follow Paw Patrol like that, but anyways, my kids aren't really fans of it, but they apparently, when the whole everybody was kind of protesting and whatnot, there was this sentiment that we shouldn't have these shows that glorify the police, which I agree. Not all of them. Like, I don't, it's a little different with Miami Vice and New York Undercover. These are old shows. I'm telling my age, but it's different with these particular shows versus something like Cops, where the cops are seen as always the good guys. They're never done anything wrong, and everybody else is a bad guy regardless, right?
Hmm.
But then see, people had a problem with Paw Patrol, and I'm like, these are animals. Like, are you really? And I get it, little kids. These guys are the good guys. Whatever, whatever. But I'm like, at the same time, if you're a parent, just have some conversations.
Yeah.
That's all that is.
Yeah.
But there was this idea that people were being funny and were like, we don't want Paw Patrol on TV anymore. Fox kind of got that information and ran with it, and everybody's like, oh, it's been canceled, and it wasn't. It really wasn't. So
No.
anywho, fast forward till today, and editor hit me up about doing a review of the game, the game that's going to be released alongside. I think that came out
Ooh.
today, and I was like, you know what, I'm good. My kids don't watch it. I'm not that familiar with it, and I have some other stuff on my plate right now, so I can't take it. So my editor was like, well, do you know of anybody else who would be willing to review it? And I reached out to a couple of journalists that I knew, and one person was like, I thought they canceled that show, and another person was like, what, ACAB, like all cops are bastards or whatever, like jokingly or whatever, right? And I'm like, granted, this was all jokes, and everybody's cool, but I could just see that going left real quick
Yeah.
because of the content. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, again, the stuff that we went through in terms of whether or not we should talk about politics in the dorm and all this good stuff. It's very mild. It's very mild compared to what's going on right now. To the point
Hmm.
where mentioning a video game could stir up some type of, you know, angry or a distant or I can't talk.
Neither
Basically,
can I.
people would be. I keep telling people that we record late sometimes, and yeah. But anyways, where people would have some type of disdain for one another because
Hmm.
they made mention of a video game, right? Or
Hmm.
this idea that, like, I don't want politics in my video games. And I'm like, politics are in art. Like, politics are life.
Yeah.
Like, what are you talking about?
Like,
So it's very volatile subject matter, if you will. So having a show where all these kids are in different, you know, they have different thought processes on what's happening and what we should do, what we shouldn't do, who we should trust, and all this good stuff. The fact that no one punched, I assume no one punched anyone.
you know what? It's like glazing over, but again, I have no memory of anything recently. You guys had injury, but I feel like there's definitely been times when people haven't talked to each other, and I there has to have been a time when somebody swung on someone, but I mean, maybe I'm making it up. There just should have been, but
I mean, because not everyone's that civil, and if we're being realistic, these
yeah,
conversations don't always end positively.
they
You know,
don't.
and then you have to live with that person. Like, if you've, like, especially now, if you found out, like, okay, this person voted for Trump, you look at them. If you're a person of color, you look at them funny. Like,
Yup,
for real, you did that, like,
yup.
on purpose, like, you know what I'm saying? Uh, so yeah, but at the same time, I think for TV though, that could be very interesting to hear or to watch.
Yeah. And it ends up being like, I'm here for it. Like I watch it, but as somebody like coming from, I guess, my age where I am now, looking at them, it's like, oh, it would be so nice if people this age actually did have these conversations. Maybe they do in certain places, and maybe this show is facilitating that with our youngins. I hope so. You go, Yara. Do your thing.
Word, word. So yeah, so those are some shows we've been watching, things that we recommend you guys check out, and we try to do that every once in a while to let you know that because we can't always talk about everything in depth. So
Right.
having these recommendations is like, oh, like, this is something else cool. You can jot that down. There's so much listening to other people's podcasts. There's so many things that I'm like, oh, I didn't know that was a thing. I didn't know that was a movie or a show. Let me check that out based on, a person's recommendation. So I definitely want to, kind of play that forward, if you will.
Mm.
But moving over to our main topics, we got a couple this time. Uh, One of them is actually kind of related with the star Idris Elba, who is going
Yeah,
to be voicing. That was Tess, by the way,
it
who's
was
going to
me.
be voicing Knuckles. in the new Sonic the Hedgehog film, and this just makes sense. And to be honest, we all thought Knuckles was black, right? Like we're
Everybody
unanimous.
did.
Okay, I just wanted to
Everybody
make
thought he
sure.
was black.
I just wanted to make sure that we were all on the same page that we thought Knuckles was black for however long. Now the fact that he is going to be voiced by a black actor is just it's just icing on the cake. Like, yeah, we knew this. We knew this was what, but we didn't know it was going to be Idris. So shout out to him, who actually he has been everywhere. Now that I think about it, he had 2 Netflix films. Suicide Squad just dropped, which we're going to talk about a little bit later. He's announcing that he's on this, and last year he was, I think it was last year, he was Hobbs and Shaw. He was in that film. Like, he's been moving and shaking a little bit, and I'm not mad at it. I am not mad at it because
He
he's a
had
solid actor.
COVID. He needs to do some more work because he had COVID, and he needs to show people he's alive and well.
Well, hey, we're seeing it. We are definitely seeing it. But yeah, he announced this on, I believe it was on Instagram. He had a meme of, or he showed like Knuckles, like his hand Knuckles, and it's similar to a Sonic meme that people have used a lot. But we were like, he was just kind of like knock knock. He didn't say anything. But then it was like Sonic Movie 2, Knuckles, and everybody's like, "Oh, he's gonna be Knuckles." And obviously they announced it after that. But it was like, wow, like, word. All right, so I already knew I was gonna watch Sonic 2 because Sonic the Hedgehog, the first one was really good. Surprisingly so, I did not expect that to be a thing. Like I thought, oh, a Sonic film, this cannot go well, and it did. It did really well. It made, I want to say, 320 mil in theaters, and this was like, I guess this was 2020, but like this was pre-pandemic time, so this wasn't,
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying? But at the same time, it made a lot of money and it did really well for a video game film, and that's almost unheard of. Outside of like, Resident Evil made a lot of money, but it wasn't good. You know what I'm saying? So
Oh,
like you can get a video game film to make a lot of money, but not be good, right?
yeah.
This was different. This was definitely different. So Idris will be there and he'll be voicing, and I'm going to be, yeah, I'm going to be, well, if it's not pandemic land anymore, if we're not in the parallelogram anymore, I will definitely take my kids to go see it because they really enjoyed the first one. But yeah, I'm looking forward to checking it out
Hmm.
when it comes
Yeah.
out sometime next year. I believe it comes out next year.
No, maybe it'll coincide with him being James Bond. Who knows?
If that happens, right?
It's not going to happen anymore. I mean, I don't think they're going to let it happen. They're going to
Honestly,
find, yeah, it's not cool. I think the closest they'll let him is be in the movie as somebody important, but they're not going to let him be James Bond. They're going to let what's his face be James Bond before they let him, the dude from Bridgerton.
oh, no, 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 no. That's not, no.
Telling
No,
you,
it
man.
just is better. It just is much better. It's a much better choice.
Idris, I mean, like, it made no sense why they had to shoot that down. It was like either him, like, and I'm totally fine with him doing Idris before, he gets like really old. Like, do Idris, then do Henry Cavill, and then and then do. I don't care. I don't care anymore. Just when I was waiting for Henry Cavill because they try to get Henry Cavill back when he was like in his early 20s, like because we're like the same age. And I was like, yes, yes, but they said he was too young back then. They were like, oh no, he's too young,
Right.
we need. And so, they went with what's his face, David, anyway.
Was David
Uh
Cage?
David Craig. Daniel
Craig. There you
Craig,
go.
sorry, not David,
Daniel
Daniel
Craig.
Craig.
That one guy, that one white guy.
That
Yeah.
guy, that one. And that's fine, and then the whole email thing was, yeah, Idris. And it was like every woman on the planet was like, Splish. And everyone was just like, yes, yes, Idris. And then they're like, yeah, sorry, we can't do it anymore because we also said a bunch of bad things about people in these emails. So yeah, no. What? Why does he have to suffer? Why do we
Yeah, I
have to
was
suffer?
mad confused about that. I did not understand what that was about, but
Yeah, no,
okay.
none of us.
Okay.
None of
But yeah,
us.
it was, and I had gotten excited about the new James Bond, which it hasn't actually come out yet. No Time to
Yeah,
Die. It's
right.
supposed to be Daniel's final film as James
Yes.
Bond, and
Mhm.
they showed a black actress playing another agent who's going to rival him, and I was thinking like, oh, she's gonna be the new James Bond. But then as I was looking at the trailers and reading more about it, I was I found out that she was going to be like not 007 but like 008 or something like that. Like she was going to be
Oh,
the next big thing. And I was like, you know what, that might be even better if she does it, and then Idris or whoever gets this role and they're not James Bond but they're still in the James Bond world. I'm actually okay with that because we can build something that's a little bit more our own, considering James Bond has been white for however long. It
yeah.
would be dope if he's no longer there.
The
Like
person.
you're right, like you passed the torch and now we have a new character. I think that would be really dope because at this point we're just it's old. You know what I'm saying? Like he've had his run, multiple different ages, different times in his life. I think the ones with Daniel Craig have been great because they kind of show how he kind of transformed into this womanizing license to
Hmm.
kill operative who isn't all that great of a person.
Yeah, he's
If
actually pretty shitty.
Right, you know what I'm saying? And like he gets the job done, and so there's things that you would like about him, but also things they weren't shy in showing that no, he's kind of a jerk.
Yeah.
And so it would be cool to kind of let him move on, and a new agent pops in, and then it's still within that world though. I wouldn't mind that because it allows you more freedom. You don't have to be the womanizer. You don't have to be blah 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 blah. You can be whatever you want, and it can be really
Hmm.
freaking cool. So going back though, because we went on a little bit of a tangent. Going back to Idris,
Idris.
yeah, I I'm look forward to all the roles that he plays, even in some of the bad films he's been in. It just he does a really good
Obsessed.
job. Was that bad? Yes, it
Yeah.
was.
Hmm.
Oh, is that the one with Beyonce?
Sharon.
Oh my, such a
Mm.
bad. Oh my goodness. All right, so maybe not all the bad movies, like not all his movies. Some of them you can let go. That was and you know what's crazy about that film? If he would have just said something early, all of that craziness would have been avoided. At the very least with his wife, not so much with the crazy person, but at least with his wife, they would have been on the same page from jump. Just be honest. Like trying to hide stuff that is because in your mind it's like this is not a big deal. This is whatever. But if it's not a big deal, then just tell her. Like what are we doing? It's like
Look,
it's
I
marriage
don't know what goes
101.
on in dudes' minds. I'm not a dude.
I get it. I get it in the sense that he's like, you know what? And granted, I know we're on a tangent, but just rock with me for a second. He
Rock with
doesn't.
us.
He's thinking like, you know what? She gonna act up. Let me not say anything, because then it's a bunch of drama that doesn't need to. But then when she finds out, your whole world blows the hell up. So like, you
Hmm.
should have just said something.
Should
You
have
should
just
have
said
said something.
something so that
So yeah,
Beyonce wouldn't have gotten mad because she just wanted to go back to school.
you
And
know what I'm
that's it.
saying? You know what I'm saying? You don't need to drink the lemonade. Chill. So, anyways, yeah. But beyond his bad films, I've liked to see him in a lot of good films. Just him
Hmm.
as an actor, I follow because he does a good job. He does a
Yeah.
good job. And this is from the first time I actually saw him was in the Wire, the show The Wire.
Yep. Yeah, he badass.
Yeah, he was
Just like
great.
awful.
He was
Like,
he was. I mean, he was. His character was bad, but
yes,
as far as acting, he did a great job.
amazing.
He did
Because
definitely a
nobody
great
knew
job.
he was British back then.
That was extra too. And I found out like because he did what is it, the YouTube show when they eat hot wings? I forgot the name of it,
Yeah,
but
hot ones.
yeah, hot ones. He talked about how he went in talking with like this New York accent and how like, and then when he talked regular, people were like stunned, like, wait, what? Like,
Yep.
really? Because and the thing is, he was kind of acting like I think this is how they want me to
Yep.
speak,
Yep.
but not necessarily. But so it's a go check out Hot Ones. It's a dope story. Um, but yeah, I think this is dope. I want to know if he's going to play Knuckles like as himself, like speaking the way he would normally talk, or is he going to do
Mm.
like an accent or another voice or whatever of
We
with
love his New
Knuckles?
York voice. Like that New York accent that he pulled, because like that's his default American accent. I think that for him, that was one of the, maybe, I don't know if it was the first one, but it's definitely one that he's able to put a lot of energy into.
Right.
Um He's
Oh
really
man,
good at it.
Knuckles. Knuckles with a New York
Knuckles from
accent
New
would be
York.
hilarious.
And like the chain would make so much sense. Like
Right?
or from Baltimore.
Yeah. Oh my
Baltimore.
goodness. Oh man.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. So I think Sonic the Hedgehog 2 drops I think next year. I don't know if they've actually started filming just yet. Because COVID and all that stuff. And plus, like I said, Idris has been in a ton of movies. Two of them went to Netflix. They're like are only on Netflix right now.
Hmm.
And he has the movies that are going to in the theaters and all this other stuff. So he's been rather busy. I don't know if that and COVID could potentially prevent them from actually have started or whatever. But the fact that they're gearing up, you're hearing more about the film. We're getting teased about who the cast is and all the other stuff. To me, they're either going to start filming this year or at the very least early next year and then be
Hmm.
done so the film actually comes out like in the summertime or whatever the case may be. So
Yeah.
I am looking forward to it. Like I said, I'm looking forward to it. The next thing we want to talk about is the Suicide Squad,
Europe.
which is way better than the first one. I just wanted to throw that out there.
Like
And
miles ahead.
and I know that's not fair considering it was such a low bar, but when you think and like, you know what? I'm not even gonna hate.
Oh,
James
that one hurt
Gunn,
my head.
James James Gunn, he did a great job and he's already had kind of like practice, right, with the Guardians of the Galaxy. So I'm not going to say necessarily that he's a better director. What I will say though is that David, I think his last name is Ayer, is
Air, something
Ayer.
like yeah.
Yeah, David, he's a good director, but it's hit and miss. And when he misses like 50 Cent trying to pitch,
Ooh,
you know what I mean?
ooh,
Like he just throws the ball into the stands.
ooh.
Because he directed Training Day. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
he directed Training Day. He directed the first Fast and the Furious film. He directed
Which we like.
you know what I'm saying? He directed Fury with Brad Pitt, which was solid. But then he also directed one Suicide Squad. He also directed Bright, the Netflix film, which is
Nobody liked that. I didn't watch it, but I heard nobody liked it.
it's really bad. Like I think
Mm.
like Will Smith says that his worst film is Wild Wild West, even though it made millions. No.
I
Bright
thought
is your
people
worst film.
Bright was okay, so Bright was this worst film.
Bright by far was his worst film. Like,
Because
let me think. Let me think. What else was he in?
I thought
Yeah,
it
that's
was
it.
Bagger Vance. I didn't watch either.
No, Bagger Vance was bad too. But you know what? Bagger Vance had. There were moments. There were moments of goodness there,
Okay.
right? And then Wild Wild West was just. It was just silly. It wasn't really a bad film. It was just like this is family fun. Over the topness. It's not meant to be anything serious. It's
Uh-huh.
steampunk. Amidst the Civil War. I don't know what you expect there, but it's not supposed to
Yeah.
be this grand thing, right? And
Yeah.
then was I Am Legend. So I Am Legend is bad for me. Wild Wild West is bad. And then Bright is way below both of those. So
Wow.
just letting you know. So he directed Bright for Netflix. Don't go check that out. He also directed I mean, I'm just saying.
He said, "Don't waste your time. Don't do it."
No, just no. And I'm not gonna go down all of his films, but yeah, there's plenty of films where he did like it was solid. Like, okay, you did a really good job here, especially with like Fury, where he wrote, directed, and produced solid
Mhm.
stuff. Actually, no, he didn't. He didn't do Training Day. He wrote for Training Day. My fault. So that
Oh,
even
he
knocks
didn't
him down a
direct.
little.
Yeah.
That knocks him down a little bit further. He wrote for Training Day and the Fast and the Furious. He directed Sabotage, Fury, Suicide Squad, Bright, The Tax Collector. Yeah. So, okay, so I'm gonna have to knock him down a little bit, just a little bit. I thought he directed Training Day. That's my fault. He did
He
not.
did not. That was
So,
Antoine Fuqua.
yep, I have to take some points from you. I'm sorry, David. Anywho, yeah, I believe James Gunn has gotten you here. He did a lot of the same things that you did with the original Suicide Squad, but better. And again, hindsight is 2020. It's very
Mhm.
easy to look at your film and be like, okay, let me curve here, let me go left here, let me do that. You know what I mean? Whereas doing it from the jump, this is your first, entourage film with a bunch of different characters
Mhm.
from that, have like a deep lore. It might be a little difficult. It might be. That being
Yeah.
said, it was bad. Margot and Will Smith cannot save it, and yeah. So the new
And
Suicide Squad.
I mean, since we're just gonna gloss over it,
Yeah, like the new Suicide Squad was really good. It was comical, and also it was rated R. So we had, and not like a soft, like I don't know even know what the other one was rated, but you recognize when things are trying to stay PG-13 or they're trying to stay, a certain level, because you don't have them fighting enemies that are human or organic. You have them fighting in the original Suicide Squad. It was like rock people, I guess. They were transformed by the witch character. Whereas this, no, they're fighting people, and arms are flying off, and people are getting eaten alive. And while that might sound a bit morbid, my point is that James Gunn was allowed to let these characters be themselves
yeah,
versus a version of them that is reminiscent of buying a censored CD. Not like the radio edit where they actually change the words and it sounds okay, but a censored CD where like every other word is like blocked out and you
please,
can't hear what's. Yeah, it's just bad. They allowed them to be themselves, and because of that, I think it worked. It worked much better.
yeah,
And also
yeah,
we had a solid cast, and some of them came from the first film, so shout out to that. I also liked how they were able to make this a sequel but not a sequel. They
right,
acknowledged that there was a previous outing of the Suicide Squad, and they also acknowledged Birds of Prey, but they do it in a way that it's like we don't talk about what happened before. It's like Fight Club. We don't talk about that. You know
yeah,
what I'm saying? And then they kind of move on to to what's happening now. And outside of that, one of the bad things with the original Suicide Squad was that it focused mostly on Margot and it focused mostly on Will Smith's character, Deadshot, and in a way that kind of eschewed the other characters. Whereas this film does is similar, where it's Margot, Rick Flag, and Bloodsport, but they allow moments to breathe with the other characters. They don't feel tacked on. Like there's some sob stories that are like, I get it, but eh. But at the same time, the character is able to breathe long enough that we start to care about them.
yeah,
Whereas in the first Suicide Squad, you have a sob story, then the character dies shortly after that, and I could not care less. I really didn't. They also did similar things with like I guess it's like a dumb character. You had the shark, King Shark. You also had Killer Croc in the original. Whereas I felt away with Killer Croc because they made him sound. It was almost like a caricature of a black person, and I
yeah.
wasn't a fan of that at all. Whereas King Shark is just like he's a shark. It's
He's a shark and he's an idiot.
Yeah, but he's cool and lovable at the same time, and
Yeah, you
and
just want to hug him.
extremely violent. Uh, Captain Boomerang, aka John Cena, did well.
Boomer.
I
No, no, no,
he
that
did.
wasn't Captain Boomerang.
Oh no, no, not Captain Boomerang. He was
Peacemaker.
Peacemaker. Yes, the one who would eat a bag of dicks. Yes,
Yes.
Peacemaker. Crazy. Peacemaker. He did a good job. I was surprised. Because usually wrestlers kind of go off of their charisma, and he kind of toned that down for this role. It wasn't like big and boisterous, although he was a little bit of that in different scenes. He was more so, he was Peacemaker, essentially. You
He
know,
was.
think of like Judge Dredd, but like a little bit more patriotic, and that's pretty much who Peacemaker is. And then also we have Idris, who played Bloodsport. So he basically took Will's role as the main black guy, and
Mhm.
he did a solid job because he's Idris. Like he
Yep.
knows how to play a different character, and not that not. Okay, that sounded like a shot at Will. Let
It
me
is, and let's
clarify.
just be serious. Let's just be honest about it. I think we just need to come out and say it. Will plays Will. That's what he is. He's either the Prince or he's Bad Boys. He's
Right.
just Will Smith, and it's unfortunate that you have this role where you get to play a person who literally kills people, assassinates them shoots them from buildings 3 miles away and doesn't feel anything about it, and literally just does this because he enjoys it and he gets paid. Any type of any amount of money that he finds worth it, he'll murder for. He will do it.
Right.
Will Smith didn't come across as this murderer for hire. He came across as Hancocky, and
Which is like an abridged version, or like a you know, I don't want to say like an adjacent version of Will from Bad Boys.
yeah, he came across as the guy who doesn't curse in his raps.
Right.
That I'm just saying that's who he was, and that's
I'm not even mad at that. I'm not even mad. You know what I'm saying? Because when Will turns up, like when he plays, the only time he does this is when he plays a character who is a known entity. You know, when he was Ali, solid job. You know what I mean? And I think maybe no, I was gonna say 7 pounds, but honestly, that's just Will from the episode of, you know, when his father doesn't want him. You know what I'm saying?
Want him, yeah.
He did a good job. He
It
did
was
a
a
good
great
job, but
movie.
it's still Will. You know, I was hoping that Suicide Squad would be his training day, and it wasn't. It kind of wasn't. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, he's samey. He's samey. Shout out to Samuel L. Jackson. He's samey too. He's mad same.
And he
Outside
gets
of like
paid
3
for that.
roles. Yeah, and you know what? It's kind of like, all right, he's not changing at this point. he's
Look.
good at what he is, and that's just what we get. That's just it.
Exactly. The man
But
is
yeah,
70-something years old.
right. You know, and still in superhero movies, so we can't, you know, what I mean, do what you do, Sam.
Yeah.
But yeah, Idris was better in this. He
Idris
was.
was great. So I did watch a video where they were comparing I don't want to just say comparing, but they did compare movies. And they did a side by side, and they were like, so this character is literally just this character? Yes. So this character is literally just this character? Yes. And it was like, wait a minute. So Bloodsport, black guy, who is being, I don't want to use the word coerced, but my brain isn't able to find another word right now. But
Course
is
works.
doing, okay, coerce. He's doing this because he's, his daughter is being used as leverage.
Right.
And Storm Reed plays his daughter, and it's like, okay, wait a minute. So because in the first one, Deadshot was going through the same thing, and it was his daughter. He was okay, sure, we're doing
Right.
that. Okay, you just said Shark, King Croc, same thing, right? Somebody
Right.
who can control animals. Same. We are one trick ponying this, but that's fine because the first one was bad. One of the things that makes
Right.
me excited or makes me super happy about this movie is that they corrected the mistakes. What the first Suicide Squad had major mistakes, and since James Gunn came over to do this movie, and like you just said, he just did Guardians of the Galaxy. There is a side-by-side comparison of Guardians of the Galaxy and Suicide Squad. Why Guardians of the Galaxy worked and why Suicide Squad didn't. Suicide Squad takes so long to get to the meat of why we're even watching this film. By the time we even get to the purpose of the movie, you've lost the audience. The audience either was walking out of the theater because they were just bored, like, oh, I'm just going to go take a bathroom break. I don't care anymore. Because the first movie was 2.5 hours long? I don't know, way too long. It had no point. We didn't care, like you said. We would learn something about a character, and then they literally died. And we're like, okay, what was the point of that? It took 45 minutes just for them to get to the part where they're like, oh, this is where we need to go to kill. This is where we need to go to do the job that we're doing. We need to all get out of jail. Amanda Waller has to hold leverage over us and get us all out. It took so long that we no longer effing cared. We did not care. I do not care. Oh, and by the way, helicopter crashes don't kill the Joker. So, I mean, the first movie was just like, okay, this makes no sense. But then if you side by side it to Guardians of the Galaxy, we met all the characters, got all of their backstory, at least the most important backstory, threw them all in a jail, and then they all broke out together within 20 minutes. Within 20 minutes, the purpose of the story was already set. Action had already happened, and now we're just on the ride with them, plus a great soundtrack. Whereas Suicide Squad had this amazing soundtrack full of, Queen songs that made no sense. Like, why are you playing Bohemian Rhapsody right now. It doesn't make any sense. You can't just use great music to put your movie forward if it has no purpose. At least Guardians of the Galaxy, it was basically Quill's soundtrack.
Right, his
Music.
mixtape.
Yeah, his mixtape, things that reminded him of home and made him happy, reminded him of his mother. So like everything that happened in Guardians of the Galaxy makes sense. Even if there's major plot holes in the Marvel movies, at least for Guardians of the Galaxy, James Gunn did a great job. So then he comes over and he does new Suicide Squad. I don't know what to call it anymore. But he takes all of the things that make the Suicide Squad entertaining. Corny ass characters. Come on,
Right.
Harley Quinn of all people. She's ridiculous. She's a caricature of herself. Like she's ridiculous. The Joker's ridiculous. And she's
Right.
effing ridiculous. But for some reason, when you watch Suicide Squad, honestly, I was just like, I like her, but I'm finding her to be annoying and not cool. And this isn't on Margot. This is on the David. On I want to say his last name is really Ayer, like yesterday in Spanish. Doesn't matter,
Right.
whatever. But I just think it was poorly done. Whereas this movie, and again, we're lucky because we already know the characters, so we don't have to get a lot of backstory into the people we already know.
Right.
But it was fun. Every second of it was fun. It had flashbacks in the right places. It had so much action in the first 5 minutes of the movie, stuff that we weren't expecting to see, when we don't necessarily want to spoil it. But when you like kill off half of the cast that you just introduced simultaneously, and it's funny. I mean, these guys are acting like idiots. It's funny. Whereas everything in Suicide Squad was so serious and dark. And it's like, why are you taking things serious when you have the Joker and his psycho-ass girlfriend? This should be funny, but not funny in the Will Smith Fresh Prince way where you're cracking jokes that honestly, like, I'm not here for. So with this one, again, so they did all this cool stuff with like everything kind of being funny, and embrace the cheesiness. To embrace the cheesiness fully, which is what I'm really happy about, is that they actually introduced Starro.
Right.
Like,
That was dope.
You introduced an alien starfish. This is what I'm talking about. This is what you have to do. You have to introduce these freaky cheesy ass characters because it is a comic book at the end of the day. You need to entertain us, make us laugh, and make us say this would never happen in real life. So I'm glad I can see it on a movie, and you made it fun. You made it interesting. I am happy that DC is doing this. For example, DC brought in the squid monster in Watchmen, which they should never have taken out of the first one, but they did because, they thought that a squid monster wouldn't make sense and they didn't want it to be corny. So they made us think Dr. Manhattan did something like it. It just wasn't. No. Okay. It wasn't. So my point is no. But I think it was great to introduce Starro in this movie and to have everything be extremely dumb, and the cinematography was good. The colors were good. Like everything was just so like, what? Real? Okay, I'm here for it.
And it was,
and I have to pay.
Right. Right. HBO Max. Nah, I think like the because you make a good point is I get wanting to make things realistic, and I also get the idea of pushing away or distancing yourself from Marvel, the way Marvel does things.
Mm-hmm.
So there's it's dark, and I get that for Batman totally, but not all of DC is like that. And I said this off air. They have Plastic Man. They have freaking Plastic Man. It's okay for DC to smile. That's why I think Shazam is one of the best DC films. Because it reminds you of older DC stuff. It reminds you of older Superman. It reminds you like that this is still comic books at the end of the day. And even though that adults are mostly going to see these things, you're seeing it because you like comics. Like outside of it being like outside of it being like a cool action film, most people I'll rephrase that. A lot of people are going to see it because it's popular. And I get that. You want to get people who aren't into comics to watch your films. With that being said, that's even more incentive to do these things. Like, this is what you're going to get when you get these type of films. Let's let's enjoy it while we're here.
Yeah.
And there is the idea that you want to elevate. You want to do something more than just a comic book film. The Suicide Squad isn't necessarily that, even though they have nods to these things where they talk about, patriotism with Peacemaker. They talk about, the effects of war. Excuse me. Like when you go into, these people are going into another country and they're doing something that negatively affects the people of that country. And what is the consequences of that, and how the, America kind of gets off, with a slap on the wrist when these things happen. Like, there's a lot of things that they're saying politically, and I know people hate that, but there's a lot of things that they're saying politically within the jokes, but it's still a comic book film. And it's okay. We don't need, I'm not even going to quote the guy because he's been talking about comic book films for a while now, but the, famous directors who are upset because, the theaters turn into, a theme park, whatever, fam. I'm having a great time. Okay. We don't want, freaking, the films fell out of my head. We don't need Godfather Part 5. We don't need whatever the film he made for Netflix recently. We don't need more. Actually, Goodfellas is fire. If we could get more Goodfellas, that would be dope. But we don't need Goodfellas, just Goodfellas all the time. It's okay. We can have fun too,
Yeah.
And so, and that's another thing with this is that even though you're taking certain things seriously and certain things not seriously, you still have a cohesive story. You still have things that make sense, even if things are over the top, which is why I keep going back to Mortal Kombat. Because people's defense of that film was that, hey, why are you taking it so seriously? That's not the problem.
That wasn't the problem.
Because honestly, the original, some of these other films that are being taken seriously or that aren't taken seriously aren't good either. It's the idea that, like, even though this is silly, lean into it. This is silly. Okay. This particular character called Peacemaker, he is super patriotic to the point of killing babies, women, men, whoever.
Women and children. He said,
women and children.
I will kill women and children if it means peace.
Right.
And he said it with a straight face with a toilet on his head.
And it's absurd. And then the other characters are like, really? Like, really? And the way these scenes work is because there's, I guess, kind of like in comedy where you have like, kind of like a goof and you have a straight man. The straight man represents the audience. The goof represents the goof. And so like you can play the jokes off of each other. You can play the different perspectives off of each other. And it works. When you have something that's like poorly written to where the jokes are kind of flat outside of Kano, shout out to Kano because he was great. But you have these poor jokes and you have a lot of exposition that doesn't make any sense. You have a film about a tournament where there's no tournament. Like there's just certain things. There's not taking yourself too seriously and not taking yourself seriously at all. And I think that's the difference here. Suicide Squad works so much better because it knows when to take itself seriously and when not to.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? So like, Idris's character, cursing like 100 times because of the crew that he's with don't know what they're doing. Or one of them is going to eat another one while they're sleeping. Like it's so funny. It works because he's the audience. He is like, why are you doing this? What is wrong with you? You know what I mean? It works so well because we have those, we can play off each other. And even with Margot, because she can be annoying, Harley Quinn.
Yeah.
But when you have her next against Flag, when they're walking beside the guy and they're like, if you don't tell us the truth, you die. And she's like, she says something nonsensical, like, if you don't tie your shoes, you die. And he's like, wait, no. It works. It works so much better. But yeah, like, I think that you could kind of look at an ensemble film that does a good job of using all the characters. There's a good job of having camaraderie that doesn't feel fake or forced, like in the first film.
Yeah.
So then when you have a tender moment, it makes sense.
Yeah.
And a decent plot. You don't, just because it's a comedy doesn't mean you have to have a trash plot.
Right. And
Yeah.
the best ones of these movies, like the best plots, I shouldn't say the best plots, but the best of these superhero movies, these comic book movies, the plot's actually quite simple.
Yeah.
And you make the movie becomes better because you have so many characters in it. So you can't go too deep. You can't make so many side quests in this one film if you want us to pay attention. And they did it right. They gave us a simple story. Hey, team has job. Go do job. Will be dangerous. May lose part of team, but please do job or else. That's it. And then everything else kind of comes on the side. The characters are built. They have antics. They all behave in a certain way, and we get to see that all while completing the mission. And I'm saying mission as an overall statement. The mission of the movie is to literally do this task and entertain us. And all of that is accomplished. Like, I don't think anybody can watch it and not be entertained.
Right.
It was very well done. Whereas the first one, honestly, was not done well at all. There's nothing good in that movie.
It's some of the things. Some of the things that I thought could have been good were squandered to the point where they too look bad. Like, I get it. No one likes the new Joker. I am totally fine with that. However, I wanted to see it. I wanted to see more of him so we can get a glimpse of what he could be. Because no matter how good of a Joker he was, if we only see him in like 3 scenes, what, you know what I'm saying? Like, there's not much of a chance to really grow on you as a character. And the fact that we had so many different Jokers over the years, from the animated Joker to the first Batman to Heath Ledger's Joker, they're different. They're all different, but they all work. So we have a new Joker who's mad obnoxious with all the tattoos and everything, but like, I think that he could have did something really cool with the character.
He could have. He really could have. I mean, he's an amazing actor. He's freaking brilliant, Academy Award winner. I mean, like, I personally enjoyed the Joker. We talked about this on the cast that we did about Suicide Squad a long time ago, and I really liked him. I actually really did. It was almost like since we were talking about James Bond, how we could all say that we liked Pierce Brosnan as James Bond, and then as soon as we saw Daniel Craig, we didn't know what we were missing. We didn't even know that we wanted that part out of James Bond. And that's what I got from Jared Leto playing the Joker. I saw something that I didn't get before, and I was like, oh shit. like all the other Jokers are crazy, and they do, whatever they did. Obviously, Heath Ledger is he's my favorite in a way that, like, I was older when I watched him versus me being younger and watching Jack Nicholson. But Jared Leto gave me something that I didn't know I needed. I didn't know I was missing. And he honestly was doing meth. Like, that Joker was on meth. Whereas all the other Jokers were on just some psychopathic power trip. This Joker was on meth.
Well, you know what's interesting about the one thing I will say about him too is that he was the only one that was fearful. If you think about it, what made Joker fearful in the Jack Nicholson and Heath Ledger was that the results of his actions, him blowing up a hospital, him slamming a guy and the pencil going through his eye or whatever, that made him, scary. But when you talk to him, the reason why people didn't take him seriously till he killed someone is because he dressed up as a clown. He acted like a clown, and we know that he's a threat because we know who the Joker is. But Leto's Joker, from the start, like when they're in the club scene with Common, I'm like, he's gonna kill Common. Like, his entire demeanor changed when he mentioned Harley Quinn's name. His entire demeanor, and I was like, oh, that is scary. He doesn't look like ha ha ha, I'm gonna spray you with acid. Like, no, I'm going to shoot you in the face because you disrespected you didn't know that you did it, but you disrespected me. So I'm going to hurt you. And in doing so, I'm going to make, like, even the way he set it up for him to be killed, it's like, oh, you have problems, but in a very directed fashion. You are, when he's talking about, like, I'm not going to kill you, I'm just going to hurt you. Like, I believe him. You know what I mean? Like, I wanted to see more of that. I wanted to see, like, what can we go? Because I think if we got past the tattoos, we got past the gold teeth, we got past, sometimes how he talked and laughed. We got past those things and we actually got him in a film more full time. we would probably be this would be a more menacing Joker we've seen, I think. Very
Yes.
much, in line with you know, the, the Jokers from the comic books where he kind of goes left, like really, really left, and is really murdering people. Like not like you know, I don't want to say like when he was beating, Robin to death, but along those lines, when he's doing some really bad things, it's like, oh, I am fearful of you versus I just don't know I don't know what to expect.
Yeah.
Those are two different things, right? So yeah, it's this new Suicide Squad is good. Definitely go check it out if you have HBO Max, or if you dare venture out to the theaters, go check it out. I don't think you'll be displeased. I will say that it is a hard rated R, so there is blood and guts and gore all over the place.
Hmm.
I personally was okay with that, considering the what's happening on film, but
Yeah.
I get it if what I'm saying, if those things are triggers or whatever the case may be, or better yet, watch the Red Band trailer because they don't filter anything,
Hmm.
and you get to see some of what happens. And if you're okay with that, stomach wise, then yeah, check it out. Definitely check it out.
Yeah.
Um,
And
what?
also, Peacemaker is going to be a series next year. So, um,
Yeah.
yeah, get to watching this just so that, you can catch on.
Yep. You got to watch the after the credits, the scene after the credits to kind of find out how that works. But yeah, he's going to have his own show, and I believe it is played by John Cena. Like John Cena is going to be
Yeah.
on TV with him, and it's
Proud of
going to
him.
be on HBO Max come January. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it because the character is interesting.
So good. I
Uh,
honestly, I think that's his character. This is, he needed this.
yeah, I think so. This gives him a chance. This gives him a
Yeah.
chance because he did a good job.
Yeah.
And some of his other films that I saw are along the lines of, and I haven't seen was it Cock Blocker? I think that's what it's called. No, Blockers. It's I get where they get the theme from, Cock Blockers, because he plays a parent who
Yeah.
doesn't want his kid to have sex, but
Yeah.
it's Blockers. It's not called Cock. Don't look up Cock
Yeah.
Blockers.
It's called
It's just
Blocker.
Blockers. I haven't seen that one, but there's other films are more so kind of like when Hulk Hogan started jumping into films and when The
Yeah.
Rock jumped in. They
Yeah.
weren't really good. It was basically off of his charisma and him being a wrestler.
Yeah.
And then this was a little bit better for him in terms of allowing him to act a little bit. So,
Yeah. This one actually shows that he can act. Like
yes, yes.
it's good for him. This is actually good for him because I'm sorry, I'm still not buying him as Dom's brother in Fast and Furious. So
No, we're not. And that was dog. That was the most over the top Fast and the Furious we've ever had.
I still haven't watched it. I'm not I'm not
Oh
there
my
yet.
gosh, you're not missing nothing. And as a fan of the Fast and the Furious, and I know how dumb this series is, uh, yeah, it was. I didn't realize that the trailers had shown all the action scenes. Like
Oh yeah,
they
that's
really
what they
did.
always do, don't they?
No, not this bad. Not this bad. Like I literally counted them as they came up. I was like, yep, I saw what's gonna happen here. And you know how like in trailers, and we'll move on after this, in trailers how they'll show you an action scene and it cuts to another part of the film, so you don't spoil, the climax of a scene. No. In the trailer, they actually show you how these scenes end. I just didn't know what I was watching because they do fast cuts. But when I watched it in the theater, I was like, oh, that actually connects. Oh wow, I saw this. I literally saw this film outside of the quiet moments. Like, good grief, they really wanted people to be in the theater for this one, man. But yeah, the last thing we wanted to talk about is on the other side of the tracks. We went from DC, now we're going over to the Marvel side. Is the new What If series on Disney Plus? The first episode has to do with Captain America, or not so much Captain America because he's no longer
Right.
Captain America. So the synopsis is the Watcher. If you guys don't know, the Watcher or the Watchers, there's more than one.
Right.
They watch everything that happens in the Marvel universe, but not just the main Marvel universe. They all universes, so all the
Mhm.
multiverse. They watch and they kind of record and have a history of just of everything that happens. That's their job essentially, is because they're not supposed to interfere. And so the Watcher is telling a story about, what if certain things happen, would these characters be the same, would they be different, if they took a left instead of a right, and all this good stuff. And what actually is happening is the Watcher is showing us a glimpse into another universe or another,
Yeah.
one of the multiverse, right? What's interesting about the What If series has been in the comics for a while, where they kind of just play with stuff like what if Spider-Man kept the Venom suit and became Venom, things like that.
Mm-hmm.
The difference here is that the MCU is introducing the multiverse. I want to say that Doctor Strange, his new film is going to have the multiverse. The
Mm-hmm.
new Spider-Man's is rumored to have multiple Spider-Mans, like the old Spider-Mans from the other films. That's rumored because of the
Gonna pull a
multiverse.
Loki.
Exactly. Loki did it as well in terms of having different universes, and so the What If is a glimpse into these other universes. But Marvel has kind of led on that this is also part of the MCU. So everything that happens is actually canon. This is part of the Marvel universe, film universe. And
Mm-hmm.
so what's really cool about that is that potentially these characters can make their way into the films because we're getting into the multiverse. This is probably how we're going to get the X-Men, how we're going to get the Fantastic Four, how we're going to get Blade, because there's no way that these entities existed and Thanos came and none of them did anything to help. I'm gonna be real upset. Y'all, not all of y'all can be in space like Miss Marvel, okay? Like or Captain Marvel. That's not a deal. No, you need to be here. Where were you? Okay. So the fact that we have the multiverse, we can actually jump into a universe that has the Fantastic Four and pull them into the MCU. So with this is like I guess like a teaser, like something that would, a fun little thing, but also has, impact, right? Because obviously Marvel wants you to watch all of their shows. So
Mm-hmm.
having it tied to the MCU makes it easier for that to happen. So anywho, that's a bit of an aside for the people who don't know what the What If show is. Or if you're like, why should I watch it? I'm only watching the movies, et cetera, et cetera. This is why it is canon. All right. Just want to throw that
Mm-hmm.
out there. Now, the first episode, like I said, has to do with Captain America, and God, her name just fell out my Peggy Carter.
Peggy Carter.
So Peggy Carter, it actually becomes Captain America. She becomes Captain Carter in the
Captain
show,
Carter.
and
She should
it's
be
really
Captain GB.
Captain GB.
Like Captain Great Britain. Like she's
Well, they have a Captain Great Britain already though, so that wouldn't really work.
Captain UK?
I think they have one.
Captain United Kingdom?
Oh no, they have another character for that. But yeah, essentially the UK is covered. Uh, they have their heroes. But yeah, like she so there's I'm not we're not going to spoil it. Even though this is the first episode, the episodes they're not connected. So like
Yeah, they're not
each what
yeah.
if will be a different, I guess, like a mini show of itself, right?
They're episodic.
Yeah, but not canonical wise. They're not,
Yeah.
yeah. Anywho, so she is something happens with Steve. Steve can't get the super, soldier serum, and so she takes his place. And they kind of follow the story from there with her being, the powered up person, and the stuff that she has to deal with when it comes to the men in the military thinking that she shouldn't be in the military, that she shouldn't even be out in the front lines, even though she's Captain America. One of the lieutenants thinks that it was a waste to give her the super serum because she's a woman, and he's more concerned with her breaking her nail. Like, you're not going to do anything. You're blah, blah, blah. And she's like, I can beat you up. Literally, I wanted her to be like, I can snap your neck right now. I wanted her to like really flex on him. She does a little bit at the end, but I really wanted her to be like, I could hurt you in like 9 different ways right now with this
Right.
pen, you know? But it's dope. You get to see, Tony Stark's father. You see Steve, but like as his, I don't want to say
Skinny
wimpy, but
self.
like skinny self. Yeah. You also get to see what happens with a cool thing that happens with the Tesseract, and Steve donning a suit of armor, which is pretty freaking dope. If you're an Iron Man film, it's pretty freaking dope.
I was about to say, I mean, not spoil anything, but I was just like, wait a minute. So is Captain Carter is now Captain Carter, but Steve is pretty much the first Iron Man.
Right. It's pretty much he's pretty much Rhodey at this point. in terms of like
Yeah.
being the second fiddle, I guess you could say. But like Bucky is in it, Bucky Barnes is in it. We also get some of the older guys, like Dum Dum Dugan. If you're a comic book fan, you know who these names I'm saying. The Red
Mhm.
Skull is also in it. He plays the main protagonist,
Mhm.
and
Antagonist.
or antagonist. Sorry,
Mhm.
Peggy is the protagonist. The Red Skull is the antagonist. We also get Zola. Zola makes an appearance. Hilarious too because he is interrogated by Peggy, and he starts off with like obviously because she's a woman, he doesn't believe that she's able to get the information out of him, and so he's like, "I'm not going to tell you anything." And the next scene is like, "Yeah, he told me everything."
Right.
like,
That
like
was so
she
funny.
she is not to be messed with. I think Steve really let people like he didn't want to hurt people as Captain America.
Yes.
Maybe I don't
Yes.
know. Peggy was all for it. She wanted all the smoke. Like she
Yes.
was breaking jaws. She was cracking bones. She was knocking
Yes.
people through walls. She did not play, and it was awesome. Just awesome.
Yeah. She was bad at, I mean, honestly, I love me some Peggy. One of the things I actually like the lady who plays her because I had seen her in a bunch of other movies before she ever, became Agent Carter. And I always liked her. She always had a face that made me smile. So I always liked her anyway. But she's a good actress, so she's cool as people. But anyway, so then now we have Agent Carter, and I'm like, first of all, Peggy, yes, I'm all for this. Okay. She gets all big looking like Pam
Right.
from Archer, from that one season of Archer when Pam was like 7 feet tall. I'm so mad the guy was like, "You don't need your heels anymore." I'm like, that's such a man thing to say.
I
And
mean,
I mean, she did. She definitely didn't. She's up there. And then you still have Steve. He's so little. And they
right.
still like each other. It's just so cute. And then, okay, but I do have questions. I actually
Okay.
have multiple questions. Okay, so remember when she stole what's his face out of the truck, right? Like
Yeah,
when I thought he was holding the Tesseract.
he was.
Okay, so if he was holding the Tesseract and she took it from him, when did it get stolen back by Hydra? I never saw that part.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So let me see. How do I say this without spoiling the scene where they are trying to assault the train, and
Mm-hmm.
then a certain person comes up missing.
Oh yeah,
The
yeah, yeah.
That's pretty much how they get it back right there.
Okay, okay. Because I
Yeah.
needed somebody to explain that to me because I was sitting here like, wait a minute, is this a plot hole? Like, did they forget that they had gotten it? And then I was so confused.
Yeah, it was they did a good job with that, and I kind of figured. I mean, it's unfortunately or fortunately the way they do a lot of the what ifs. A lot of stuff end up happening in the same fashion. So
Yeah,
how a certain person ended up missing is the same way how a new person ends up missing,
yeah.
and it's like, oh, like I thought we were gonna do a little, something a little different, and I think that's the only part of that I didn't like was that it was predictable in that manner. Because a
Mm-hmm.
lot of it is this is the same with the what if comics. Like there are what if comics where this character takes over someone else's role, like Peter Parker becomes Doctor Strange, for instance, but then he ends up going down a similar path, and
Mm-hmm.
it's like for all the what if magic that you have, you could really alter the story in some really interesting ways. I get that certain things have to happen, like the Red Skull is going to be a threat. You know what I mean? Like it's not you're not going to create a new bad guy all of a sudden because, Peggy is now Captain America. But how they go about, getting to the end of the story, you could take different turns. You could take different, you know what I mean? Like there's so many things you could kind of toss in there. You know, the fact that Bucky isn't captured because of
Yeah,
what happened, right? And because he's not captured, he never becomes the Winter Soldier. So what does that
right.
do? You know what I mean? Like there's so many things that could alter the universe in really interesting ways that we kind of don't see,
It
which is
made
kind
me
of like,
sad. That actually made
yeah,
me sad because I was like, I mean, not that ever wanted Bucky to become the Winter Soldier because obviously that's the worst fate for Bucky because he has to pay for that for the rest of his life, which honestly
Right.
is ridiculous. And I didn't even like Falcon and Winter Soldier show. I did not like it. I'm sorry. I think it has so many problems, but that's
It
not
has a lot of
that's not
problems.
a lot. It has nothing to do with today's episode. But I do like Bucky. I think we all do. And you know, he grows on us. So knowing that like she comes out of the ice 70 years later, I'm like, aw, we don't have Bucky as a super soldier.
Right. Right. It's like, dang, man, like they're like, and so I want to explore that. Does he
But
become a different super soldier? Like,
I'm gonna say no, but what got me, so after I concluded that, and I was like, well, if he doesn't become the Winter Soldier and nobody else becomes the Winter Soldier because, you know, nobody else goes missing, then that means that he doesn't get blamed for killing T'Chaka. So does what's his face still kill T'Chaka at the UN? And
interesting.
because I want to know if T'Chaka doesn't die and T'Challa doesn't become king at that, you know, that if all those things don't happen, then does Killmonger actually manage to do the things that he does in Black Panther? You know what I mean? Like, can T'Chaka not talk reason into his nephew?
That's interesting.
And that's where I went after I watched it.
That's interesting because yeah, like there's so many. And granted, I know like the comic book has it set up differently, but the fact that this is part of the MCU, yeah, you can reason because even when Peggy returns, we see that Samuel L. Jackson's character is Nick Fury. It's not the white Nick Fury, right? So like obviously this plays into the MCU in this way. And so with that being said, yeah, there's a potential that he's not the Black Panther. There's a potential that his father is still the Black Panther. Like there's so many different ways you can kind of go. And that's the part where I'm like, I really wish you would go lean more. And it's kind of rough, right? Because it's only one episode. It's one episode, 33 minutes long, and it's one and done. The next episode is going to have a totally different character and a totally different story, potentially a different, universe. And you're not going to see the consequences of these changes, and at least until we get the new films. We're just not going to know. So all the guessing and the what ifs, if you will, they kind of just like die by the wayside because like, darn it. Outside of the story though, I super like the animation. It has a pseudo like 3D computer animation mixed with like drawing, like hand drawn animation. Like it's this odd combination to where you can have a nice solid colorful 3D animation that also moves really fast and very much like it's cell shaded. It's similar to Archer, but yes, Appleseed. It's similar in that sense, but it's polished. It's like that Disney polish. I don't know how to explain it, but it's done very well, and it looks good. And all of the and this is partly by the directors and the animators working in cohesion, but all the action looked great. There wasn't a lot of choppiness. You could see what was happening, fluid motion. There wasn't any like Peggy followed through with her punches. You would see the person get hit, their body would crumble in that spot, and like it was great. I'm not violent, people. I'm just saying it's cool. We're talking superhero violent, stuff,
but we don't mind watching cartoons beat each other up.
Right? Exactly. And so they did a very, very good job. They also did a very good job, I think, with the facial expressions and making the characters look like their counterparts. Because for people who don't know, a lot of the original actors are voicing their counterparts. So Samuel L. Jackson voiced, he plays Nick Fury. He's also voicing the animated version of himself. Because again, this is part of the MCU. The same thing with the guy who plays Hawkeye. His name just fell out of my head.
Jeremy Renner.
There you go. He was also voicing his character in this episode. So like they're all the same. And so because of that, you kind of have to animate or, make them look like themselves essentially. And they did a really good job of that, in a way that was like, okay, I know this isn't the original guy. This is from another universe, but it still works. And I kind of see what you're trying to do. So, kudos to, to the animation team over there. I'm not sure what studio. I know it's, typically under the Marvel umbrella. And then Disney is kind of overseeing that, but Marvel Studios, I'm not sure if they're still doing their own animation, because I know when Disney bought Marvel, Marvel was doing a bit of that stuff, and then Disney took over in certain television series. But as far as this one, I'm not sure who's doing the animation. Like I'm trying to look it up, and I see the animators, but not the
Yeah.
actual studio. And they said the production company is Marvel, so I don't know. I don't know. Maybe it's Marvel doing it. Either way,
Maybe it is Marvel because they've got the all the right people, the people from Iron Giant. So
right, right, and that's also the when Steve was in the suit of armor, it reminded me of the Iron Giant.
Yeah.
Actually,
Which is still one of my favorite movies of all time.
it's pretty freaking great. It's really good. But yeah, I think they did an awesome job with that. I'm looking forward to it. I'm not sure how I'm gonna feel when I see because Chadwick Boseman plays
Yes.
T'Challa. He's gonna play the T'Challa version of Star Lord in I think if not this coming episode, the very next one. And I'm not sure because that's his last role. So I'm not sure how I'm
Yeah.
gonna feel about that. Especially not seeing him as the Black Panther. That said, I still want to see it.
Oh yeah.
And what they can do with that, because it's interesting to see him as Star Lord. How did that work? Is he going to be Star Lord out of Wakanda? That's even way like
That would be so out of this world, like no pun intended. But
right, right? And if he does become Star Lord, does he make a different Guardians of the Galaxy? Like, is the people that he pulls for his team, are they going to be different?
Oh my God. I don't even know what to say.
And then if he's different, what happens with Peter Quill? Is he going to be different as well? Is he going to be the
he's definitely not going to be the Black
right?
Panther.
I was going to say he's definitely not going to be the Black Panther. But what is he going to do? Or is he just going to be a regular kid and
I
go
don't
off
know, but I'm looking online and I'm looking at cast, and Killmonger is on here. So I'm just saying, if Chad is playing Star Lord, then Michael B. Jordan might be playing Black Panther.
That could be interesting. That could be interesting. And there is a point where in the comics where Killmonger does, just like the movie where he does beat the Black Panther, becomes,
Yeah.
that he takes up that title,
Yeah.
and it just doesn't go well for him. It goes really bad.
Right.
And
Yeah.
I'm curious if they're going to go that way, in the what if. There's so many different things. I kind of want to see if, considering Loki finished, if we're going to see a glimpse of that as well within the what if.
I mean, I go for Loki anything. I'm like, I love Tom Hiddleston. Please marry me. But I will.
Is he married?
It doesn't matter at this point. I'm just saying. He is 6'2". So but like I will watch Loki anything. I really, really will. And I mean, I'm always up for more Loki, but they did What If a long time ago. They're just, getting it out. So I don't know, because Loki's getting a season 2.
That's true. Yeah.
I don't know. But at the same time, remember, Loki didn't go the way they had originally planned it. It got messed up because of the pandemic. So I don't know. What if?
Right. What if? And that's the same thing with WandaVision. Because a lot of people were upset about how that show ended, and come to find out that there was a lot of issues with COVID, and whether people were getting sick and couldn't come back to shoot, or they couldn't travel, because there was travel bans and stuff like that, so they couldn't get back to shoot, and so they had to make an abridged, or not an abridged version, but they had to change what was happening because it was supposed to be longer. There was supposed to be more cameos and stuff like that, and they kind of had to, they had to change things up. So I'm curious. But we'll see. That's one of the good things about animation. You don't really need people on set outside of a sound booth or something like that. You don't really need people to be there. You can still distance and record this stuff. So
yeah. which is
You know what I
cool.
mean?
Which is how they film Archer every season. So
Right, definitely. And I've been catching up on Archer. I think I have all the seasons except for the latest one that's about to drop, and I'm catching up on that. Solid show, solid
yeah,
show. We're gonna have to talk more about. I know we've talked about Archer before, but we need to talk about Archer because
yeah,
there's
we
some good,
do.
there's some genius writing going on there. It really is. Even when it's not funny, even those episodes that are just not funny, that I'm not laughing at all, what is happening is so interesting and so well done in
Uh-huh.
terms of how they've just like you just see the Jenga blocks fitting in the right
Uh-huh.
spots to keep it all up. And it's like this is who is writing this stuff? Like this is great.
Yeah, it's
So
great. And it's just not, I mean, I know this season that's coming up, we're still going to have Mallory. I think that's what I read at least before. I guess they
yeah.
did finish, and she did record prior to passing away. But I just don't, that show without Mallory Archer is, I don't know what that's going to look like because the comedy she provides, Jessica Walter's comedic timing is ridiculous.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, some of the funniest things that happen in that show, obviously we know how ridiculous Archer is, but the funny things that happen with Mallory in those there's because Mallory is being a jerk. And and I mean, so without her being racist and being a jerk, like I don't know what we're doing here. I mean, I know that they'll be able to pull it off, but that just having her as a character, just it means a lot for the show. I think every character
Right.
that's on that show makes the show the way it's supposed to be. So, I don't know. We'll see. I mean, but yes, it's a great show. So we do need to talk about it. We need to have in-depth conversations on certain episodes.
Yes, because oh my goodness, catching up on some of the craziness, it's just wow.
Yeah.
Also, the actor who plays and this isn't another side, but the actor who plays the son in Bob's Burgers, I can't stand him, but I saw him in Archer. He was playing another character, and I can recognize his voice. And it was so more mellow, and I was like, why can't you just talk this way the whole time? Like the way he raises his voice is like he's screaming the whole time on the Bob's Burger show. And as much as I love that show, if that character never came back, I would be fine. And it's sad because they write him really well. Like he has a lot of funny moments, but his voice is like, I just want to tear my ears off sometimes. I'm like, oh my goodness. Anywho, that's about nothing. That was our show for this week, folks. Thank you for hanging out with us. Oh, side note. So the surprise that I talked about last episode is actually here. It came early. We got our own official, I'm doing air quotes, official Xbox Series X controller. And it looks great. If you follow us at the Gamecast1 on Twitter, you can actually see it. I have it pinned there. I did a little, I made a little GIF of me opening the box so you can see the controller. We have our Gamecast colors, and it's solid. It's solid. My oldest was like, "Ooh, where'd you get that?" I'm like, "I made it." She's like, "I want to make one too." I'm like, "Yeah, this costs money."
You're like, no.
Yeah, maybe for your birthday, maybe. I don't know. But yeah, we have our own controller, and that'll be fun. I always wanted to make one since they actually announced the Xbox Game Lab or Controller Lab, and I was like, man, what color should I have? And previously, I was going to do a UFG color scheme, but it's mostly red and white, and I was like, that just looks like a regular red controller. And I was like, oh wait, we have a podcast with like purple and pink and blue and white, and I'm like, fam, this will be a dope color scheme.
Yes.
And it turned out really freaking well. And I know that's not the surprise you might have thought was going to be. Like you thought maybe it was something for you. It's not. It's for us.
No,
it's just for us.
For us.
It's definitely for us. But
we don't have anything to give y'all but our voices.
Exactly. But you can enjoy it with us. You can live vicariously through us. Definitely. Definitely. It controls very well. I had to get a little update because it's a new controller, so you have to update it. But it controls very well. One of the best controllers. Xbox Series S is one of the best controllers, period, in gaming. So definitely go check that out. Follow us there. Follow us on Twitter. definitely follow the cast wherever you are. If you're listening on Spotify, if you're listening on Amazon, Apple, Google, definitely add us to your RSS feed. Subscribe. If you're listening on YouTube, definitely hit the subscribe and the bell so you are aware of all the new content that's coming out from us, because we have a lot of stuff to talk about. There's so much content. Heck, there's so much content just on Netflix that we'll be talking for days.
I know.
But then also with HBO Max and Hulu and Crunchyroll, and just there's a lot of stuff to talk about.
So
Heck,
much.
freaking Attack on Titan hasn't even come back yet. There's a ton to talk about. Also,
Yeah.
I know we patch things up with Netflix, you know what I'm saying? But I have a bone to pick Netflix. We're gonna talk about it next week. Cause you know what I'm saying, you added an anime but didn't add all of it. And I'm looking at you. We're gonna talk next week. But beyond that, definitely follow us. You can follow me on Twitter and IG, basically anywhere at KennyUFG. You can follow Tess, even though she's not really on right now,
No.
because she's, doctor's orders. She needs to, kind of chill with her phone and things of that nature. But you can follow her as well for the occasional tweet.
Yeah, occasional tweet.
The occasional tweet, see what she's doing, see what she's up to, or if anything, just to follow the show, because we tweet out and retweet and all that good stuff. So you can follow her at
Messy Tessie Bakes or something.
there
I
you
don't
go.
even know. What is my I don't know my Twitter handle, people.
No. Messy Tessie Bakes was IG. It's actually
Oh.
Messy Tessies with an S. So MESSY
We're
TESSYS.
spelling it. We're telling people.
Facts. So definitely go follow, because there's a lot of stuff going on. We're evolving. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And because of that, you kind of want to be on the ground floor, so you can say you were there. I mean,
Yeah.
you're not day one, you know what I'm saying? But you day 50. Day 50 ain't bad, you know what I'm saying?
In fact, don't even go to you don't even need to be day one, people.
Right. As long as you're the one of the days, we good. We good. So yeah, definitely, you know what I'm saying? Follow, continue to listen. We appreciate your time, and let us know if you want us to talk about any particular subject, any, film, anime, manga, maybe even music. We spoke about music about 100 episodes ago.
I know,
and
right?
That was that episode was well received. So let us know. But I think that's it for me for housekeeping.
Yeah, that's pretty much it, you guys. Thanks for being with us one more time. We really appreciate you guys sitting through, especially if you make it to the end. We really appreciate that. Thanks for listening to our conversation. Don't forget, check out The Suicide Squad on HBO Max, and check out whatever else we talked about. Because remember, guys, I have no memory of anything that happened if it was more than 50 seconds ago. Don't forget to wash your hands, use mouthwash, and wear your masks. That's very important.
And wash your butts.
And wash your butts. Please do that. It is still a panorama out there, and we're only going to get through this Polaroid if we all work together. So please do those things, and don't remember to hashtag don't be a dick and hashtag be kind. I say be nice. I think I say be nice, whatever. But there's a hashtag being kind on internet now, so whatever. Just do that. Anyway, that's it for me, guys. Have a great night. I got a headache. It's time to go to sleep. So, bye-bye.